I'm Holly from Accrual Mistress Bookkeeping and Consulting, and today I'm going to walk you through the process of how to import a CSV file into your QuickBooks Online bank feed. Now, to be clear, importing data like this tends to be more of a stopgap than anything that I would recommend as a best practice. In an ideal world, we're going to be connecting our bank feeds so that transactional data is flowing through on a regular basis. But there are some times when a bank feed just won't work. For example, sometimes if a bank feed breaks, it will not be established all the way back to the date that it was broken. Additionally, if we're recreating years worth of data, banks have limitations on how much data can be imported into QuickBooks that way. So having additional options never hurts. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, to get to our bank feeds, we're going to either go to bank feeds here or accounting, bank transactions. But one of my favorite ways is to actually just click on accounting right here, because then that pops out my left-hand navigation menu right here. So it does go to bank transactions by default. Now, one thing that I want to point out here, because I have actually imported transactions from a CSV file into this bank account in the past, you can see that the bank balance is 0. Now, we can see my posted balance is just a touch more than that on this account. The reason for that difference is because we do not have an active bank feed established for this account. If this account were actually linked to a bank account in the real world, that data would be flowing back and forth. So ideally, we're going to see that our bank balance and our posted balance line up with very few exceptions. So that's a really nice double check that is built in when you are using the QuickBooks ecosystem as it is designed. But since we're kind of gaming the system as it were, and since I'm only doing CSV imports and PDF imports into this file, we do not have that advantage. So now let's say that I have the next month's worth of transactional data that I would like to bring into this particular bank account. Well, what I would do to do that is go right over here, and where it says link account, instead of clicking that, which is what I would click if I wanted to establish a bank feed and connect it to a bank account, I'm going to hit this little arrow right here and I'm going to say upload from file. Now from there, it's going to ask me what QuickBooks account do I want this to be mapped to. And since I already have an existing bank account, I'm going to go ahead and upload the correct file for this. So give me just one moment to go ahead and pull that file. There it is. And here's where we're going to need a little bit more information about our CSV file. So first, we're going to need to know if the CSV file has a header line, okay? And that's just a simple yes, no. The next thing it's going to ask us is how many columns contain dollar amounts, okay? So in this case, I happen to know that this CSV file has 2 different columns for dollar amounts because I opened it up prior and I checked. I highly recommend checking your CSV file before you upload it. The last thing that we need to tell QuickBooks is the format of the date, because this can vary from financial institution to financial institution. Most are going to be month, day, year with slashes, but since that is not universally true, it's always good to know what you're looking at. I know that mine is month, day, year with slashes, so I'm going to go ahead and select that option. Then down here, we're just continuing to map the data, okay? So we can see here it automatically picked up date and bank description as 2 columns that were in the file. And from there, it gets a little lost. So now we're going to provide it with a bit more information. So for money received, it's asking me to tell it where that data is located. So I'm going to select this, and you can see it comes up with all of the different columns that are in my CSV file. I'm going to select received because that's where the received money is coming from. And I'm going to select spent because that's where the spent money is coming from. Now, this is a really great example of QuickBooks does its best, but it's not always going to get everything right. Trust but verify, because those options were right there and very clear. And we still had to map it and show QuickBooks what we want it to do. Now, for most banks, you're going to see that the check number is actually going to be showing up in the bank description or bank detail. But if your bank happens to put check numbers into a different column, you could map that here. At that point though, once we have told QuickBooks where the money is flowing from, where the date is, and what the bank description is, we can go ahead and continue to add that data. So we can see right here, this pulled all of the information from my statement in. What it's asking me to confirm on this screen is whether or not these numbers are positive or negative in accordance with what was received and what went out. Okay, so we can see here, these are all deposits and they're all positive numbers. That is what I want to see. These ones down here are all expenses. They're all outgoing amounts and they all have a negative sign in front of them. Again, that's what I want to see. So once I have all of this information, I now have the option to either select all of it or select only certain transactions. Now, you might be asking, why would I only be selecting certain transactions? Well, if your bank feed was broken mid-month and you're just trying to get through the end of the month so you can reconcile your account, you might only be bringing in transactions, say from the 12th on, if the bank feed broke on the 11th. Okay, so you can pick and choose the transactions that you want to have brought in. Now, for this particular example, I'm just going to go ahead and bring all of them in. So I'm going to hit continue right here. Yes, I would like to import these transactions. And once QuickBooks thinks for a sec, we're going to be able to go back to the bank feed. And now we can see where that had no transactions waiting to be classified. I now have these 17 transactions. And here is another reason why it's always good to either have the bank feed established or to import transactions like this. If you have rules that are already associated with transactions that are happening in your business, you're going to get to apply all of those rules to those transactions once they've been imported. All right, so that was how we connect a bank feed for an existing account. But let's go ahead and look at what happens if we don't have an account already mapped in our books and we want to establish a bank feed for it and import a CSV file. We're going to start the same way. We're going to go up to the caret up here and say upload from file. But instead of leaving it selected as business checking account, I'm going to go ahead and click add a new account. Now, we're actually going to be linking it's a sample credit card account, okay? So I'm going to say business Amex card. And then I'm going to fill in the type of account it is. So it's going to be a credit card, and then the detail is credit card, that's fine. We're not going to have an opening balance. We're going to say that all of this is originating data, so we're all set there. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And once I do that, I can now see that information is mapped right here. So once I've done that, I can again go ahead and find my, my CSV file here. And then I can download it. Or I'm sorry, upload it into QuickBooks. So again, I need to know this information. I need to know, does my data have a header? How many columns are in and out transactions in? What is the date format? Once I have answered those questions, I can go ahead and finish mapping. So again, money received, received, money spent, spent, and we're going to go ahead and hit continue. So here is where credit cards end up being backwards from bank statements. When we use a credit card, we are actually creating a liability account, okay? So that is money that we are spending, it's an expense to us, and then we're going to eventually pay off the credit card. So what I would expect to see here, since I know that all of these are outgoing transactions, they're all negative. So since that's what I want to see, I'm going to go ahead and select all this and say continue. Now, once that's done, we're going to be able to navigate back to the bank feed. And we're now going to see that we have two different accounts right here, okay? So we still have our business checking account, and now we also have our business American Express credit card. All right, so this is how we import CSV files into QuickBooks Online to get our bank transactions. As you can see, when we go through this process, we still get all the same information that we would if we had our accounts linked and if the information was flowing through automatically. We're going to get the date of the transaction, the bank description, whatever the amount is, right? And if we have any rules, those are automatically going to be applied to these transactions so that we can speed classification along. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Holly. I am the owner of Accrual Mistress Bookkeeping and Consulting, and I do plan to do a few more videos over the next couple of weeks and months about bank transactions, about bank feeds, and how we can use them to the greatest leverage in our businesses. This is going to include best practices, and it's going to include how to handle things like transfers between accounts, matching transactions that have already happened in our books, all of that. So if that would be helpful to you at all, please do like and subscribe so that you'll be alerted to the next time I post a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.